Hello everyone! Welcome to Liza's Painting Parties. I am Liza and I am here for our weekly live painting event. Thank you so much for joining me this week. This it will be a fun one. So this will be one that is a paint from photo. So the photos that I use primarily are from Michael Lyons Photography. He's a photographer out of Burlington, Ontario. You can definitely check him out on his website. I have the links there below. And he does some beautiful shots that he graciously allows us to use as inspiration for our paintings. So for anyone who's painted from a photo before, or have painted with me before, you kind of know the drill. For anyone who's joining me new, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. What we're going to do is I will walk you through step by step on how I would go about recreating my version of this photo into a painting. So what I'd like you to think about is that your way and my way can be totally different. You can have your own special way of going about it. So if you have a lot of experience with painting, go, feel free, have fun. If you're brand new, I will be as detailed and specific as possible, and you can follow me step by step. You can watch first and then paint. Whatever works for you works for me. There are comments, so you can feel free to comment and let me know where you're tuning in from. If you have any anything that you're concerned about, something that's not working out very well, if you have something that worked out really, really well, like please share in the comments and let me know your experiences with it, whether you're watching live with me right now or whether you're watching this later when it's been recorded. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. It really, my focus is just to have as much fun as possible and to enjoy the process and to get whatever you want out of it. So that's really the most important thing, is for you to just enjoy it, and hopefully I can help you be your guide with that. So we will get started a little bit after 6, just to make sure that everyone who wants to join has found me and is ready to go. So I won't start just yet, but I will go through a few like housekeeping items to make sure you're all ready to start when we start in a few minutes. First off, I will have the inspiration photo on screen, so as we're painting, you'll be able to see it while I'm painting. I'm going to have it on this iPad just on the side, and I'll move the camera so you can have, you can see it as we go. That being said, I also have the image on the post from today saying what the image was, so you can always go on there and take a screenshot or download that image too, just so you have it available to you if that is more convenient or better for you. So that's another option as well. So I'll have that there. And then when I'm going through it, I will, again, walk you through step by step. One of the first things I'll do when we get into it is I'll kind of talk through the process of where we're going to start and what we're going to do first, and then we'll go from there. So that's the flow of things. Let me just see. So there's been a few things, see if there's any comments so far, just to make sure you all know that I am here. Okay, so no comments yet that I've seen, so that's good. Okay, cool. So if you have any comments or anything, feel free to comment in there and I'll keep an eye on it. They changed the setup a bit of my dashboard when we're doing lives, so that's a little frustrating for me, but I'll keep an eye on it. So just if I don't respond right away, know that I'm not ignoring, but I might be in the process, and then I'll respond back as soon as I can. So yeah, so in terms of supplies, I always post the same thing every week. So I really try to keep it as straightforward as possible. In a few of the sessions coming up, there'll be a few changes, so I'll make sure that you know about that in advance. So I'll be releasing the March lineup, hopefully early next week is the plan. So you'll be able to see what that looks like in the events that we planned out for March. And I did want to play a little bit, and we might want to use a few other elements than just basic acrylics, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So in terms of our regular supplies that you'll need, so you'll need a canvas. So I usually use a canvas board. It's an 11 by 14, and it's just like basically very thick cardboard board, and it has canvas that's on top. There are positives and negatives to using this. One of which is, like, on a regular canvas, I do find that the paint just flows a little bit nicer on a stretch canvas. So if you have that option, I would I would go that route instead. I do this for just practical reasons. I don't like to paint over my paintings, so I end up just having stacks and stacks, and this just makes it like easier to store and to switch out in frames because I have similar frames around the house. But it works for what we need it for, and if you have that, then it's quite a nice cost-effective option. For that as well, so we also have our paint. So I use acrylic paint, and if you have the basic colors, so if you have red, yellow, blue, white, and black in acrylic, you're good to go. I've often have used these. These are Crafters acrylic. They're from like the Dollarama. These ones dry in like a matte finish. And I've been doing them for the majority of my paintings, and they've been great. They come in a variety of colors, and they're like usually like a buck or $1.50 or something per. So that's a really nice way to have lots of different things for very low cost. And then, however, I did switch up and I used this one called Artist's Loft, and I got this from Michael's. And this one dries with a shine to it, so I've been enjoying that quite a bit more. So I'm going to be using these ones primarily. Sometimes, again, you might just get different colors and values from the cheaper ones. You can definitely mix and match, and that's totally fine. Acrylic is water-based, but if you do get it on your clothes, once it dries, it's pretty much permanent. There are like hacks to get it out in terms of using like alcohol or whatnot and different things, but in my experience, if you get paint somewhere you don't want paint, acrylic paint, just try to wash it off immediately while it's still wet, and then it'll make your life a heck of a lot easier. So this is as a tip before we start. Also, paintbrushes, I recommend having a variety of sizes. I suggest having at least 3 in terms of a very large, a medium, and a thin. So for this one, I sometimes go back and forth between a medium. That one is a number 4. This is a number 2. So I kind of prefer the number 2 in an 11 by 14 canvas. This is a number 10, and it's a flat wide brush. And then I have just like a thin brush. When it gets water on it, it becomes quite thin. And these ones I got from Amazon, and they have like a nice like pencil kind of hold tip there. So that works out nicely. Then we also have our water containers. So good to go. Paper towel. And our paint palette where I'll pop my paint on. As you'll see, I tend to blend most of my paint right on the canvas itself. I don't really like pre-mix the paint. I just do it right on the canvas. So I'll walk through and show you how I do that. All right, so it is 6:05 and we will get started. Okay, great. So I'm going to move what is happening there? There we go. Okay, I'm going to move the camera so that you can see the canvas and this. I still haven't seen any comments, so I'm assuming no one has written any comments. If you have, then I don't know what's going on. So hopefully everyone's just chilled out and quiet and enjoying the watch. I will keep an eye and see if anything else comes back on there. You know, there is a refresh button. Let me see if I can refresh. Is that a refresh? Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, looks like we're all good to go. All right, so let's move this over like so. I will put this here, and I will bring it down ever so slightly. Okay, it's gonna have a bit of a glare, looks like. I can move that. Okay. And that just have to be the way it is because I need the light on the canvas, so we might need to deal with that. Bring it closer. No, I think that makes it worse. Okay, we'll leave it as okay. Yes. That worked. Perfection. Okay, so when we start painting, I always start with whatever is furthest back in our image. So I'm going to start off with the sky, and I'm going to play with that really pretty color gradient that's happening there, where we have yellow with that sun that's setting. I think it's setting. It looks like a sunset to me. Maybe a sunrise, actually. I don't know. We'll go with that. I think I called it a sunset, so we'll stick with calling it a sunset. So we're going to do that. Now the thing is, when you go from like a yellow to a blue, what happens when we mix yellow and blue together, right? We get green. If you notice in the image, you don't see a variation of green from the yellow to the blue. That's the interesting aspect of when we paint the sky, is we need to be a little bit cautious of that. There is a little bit of a blend happening that almost looks a little like, I guess you could say, like a little like hint of green, like it's kind of grayish, but you don't see that happening. So I'll show you how to go about that. When we are doing this, we're going to end up using white. White is going to be our friend to really help get the blends going, and we're not going to mix the yellow into the blue in the same way. So I'll walk you through what that means and what that looks like. But for now, what we can do to start, on our palette, you can grab your blue. So I have this bright blue, and I'm going to pop some on my palette like so. I'm going to use my best friend, which is the white. I love the white paint so much. And I'm going to put a little bit of white on here. Do I want a little bit more? Let's put a little bit like there. Coolio. And then I'm going to put some yellow. This one feels like it needs to be shaken up a little bit. Okay, there we go. I just want to put a little bit. So I'm just putting a little bit. There. Okay. Make sure my water doesn't spill. All right, so that's what I got there. And I'm going to use my big brush here, my number 10. Now with this as well, when we are thinking about how we want to start our painting, we want to think about where the sky lands on our actual canvas. So if we look here on our inspiration photo, the middle of the canvas is about the top of this like brush of treetops that are in this background here, right? So that yellow needs to come below that so we can still see it poking through, and we do all these like little branches and squiggly things in the background, right? We want to still have that yellow going low. So we want the sky to come below that middle. So if the middle of the canvas is about there, so you're just gonna like eyeball it, or you can always like mark it slightly with like a pencil, depending on what type of like learner or visual person you are. I'm okay with just kind of like eyeballing it and saying, okay, that's about middle. So when I do the sky, I'm gonna want to bring it a little bit lower than the middle. Okay, so I'm gonna bring my sky down to about there. Okay, just so that when I end up putting that brush in, we can still see the really pretty bright yellow behind it, because I want to make sure we don't lose that in that process, right? Now, I'm going to start off with just putting in where I want that yellow to go, and this yellow is going to be very intense and bright, but then we're going to be able to play with it a bit. We might want to even put a little bit of red in it, and a little bit too. Anyways, we'll play with it in a minute. Let's just start with yellow. So I'm going to start and just kind of like plot in where I want that horizon to end. So there's a bright yellow line right there happening. Okay. I'm going to just put a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to get some white now. This is basically, I just put a ribbon of yellow. And I'm just going to put some white just above, and I'm going to start to pull it in to my yellow. So I'm going to keep, this is my third time I've already got some white. So I'm grabbing quite a bit of white, putting it just above, and then I'm pulling it into my yellow. Okay, and again, I'm going to do that again. And I'm not cleaning my brush in between. I still have yellow on my brush. I just put more white on top of it. Okay, so we already have a little bit of a gradient happening here, where we have that bright yellow, and then we have it a little bit lighter in the white. What I want to do as well is I'm going to get a touch of red. If you have orange, you could use that alternately. I'm just going to put like a little drop of red on my palette as well, because I want a little bit of orangey to come out. And so I'm just going to put like such a little bit on my brush. This is still very wet, So I'm just going to kiss it just slightly with the tip of my brush, like that. I'm going to clean off the rest of that red that was on there, like that. And then now I want to just go back and forth a bit, clean that off again. I'm going to get more yellow on my brush. I'm going to go on top of that red, and I'm just going to blend that in a little bit with my yellow now to give it kind of streaky and to bring a little bit of orangey to my sky. There's a little bit more variety happening there. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit more, I think. I'm also getting used to these. So when I switched my paints to these Artist Loft, the values of the base colors are quite different than like the other ones that I was using. So like this yellow is like very like boom, like super bright, where some of my other yellows I was using were way more dull. So that's something that you kind of want to play with too. And that's why it's kind of nice to get, again, depending where you're at in budgets and whatnot, but if you are on a budget, it's nice to be able to get many paints for different colors for very cheap. Not like a Dollarama, so you can like play fully with it. I'm just putting a bit more white. So I'm just going a little bit back and forth just to create a nice, pretty, couple different like color valuations. Like, so we have some like white, we have some yellow, we have a little bit of the red, but like it's kind of orangey. And the sky is just looking really pretty and soft and bright. And so I'm just wiping off my brush with the acrylic paint because I'm going to be using this consistently. I don't usually put it back in the water or rinse it fully as I go because I don't want to worry about having to dry it off and having my paintbrush too watery. So that's how I tend to do that. Oh, hi Paula! Just keeping the dog busy while I work. Nice. Awesome. Okay, great. And of course, when I talk about getting paint on my clothes, that's the days that I end up getting paint on my clothes. Without fail. Like if I don't mention it, it's fine. And then as soon as I mention paint, like, oh, be careful, make sure you don't get paint on your clothes, I just got paint on my pants. So, anyways. I come prepared. I come with clothes that, well, if it gets painted on, then so be it. It's fine. Okay, so that's my yellow there. Now I did rinse off my brush a bit and I took some of the yellow off because I want to start playing with my blues in the top here. And I definitely don't want yellow to get into that group because I don't want my sky to be green, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with, I'm going to get a little bit of blue on my brush, a little dab like that. And I'm just going to put a little bit of blue into my sky. This blue as well is quite light, like it's a very bright, light, pretty blue. Which I like a lot. And I'm going to get my white and I'm going to continue this little streaking process with my white so I can start blending it out, getting coverage and covering my whole canvas with paint, but already creating like streaky gradients and different valuations in there. Values. I don't know, valuations. I don't think that's the word. Any values. Values of color. Okay. Also, if you are, I'm with a canvas board, so it's not as like necessary, but I do like to make sure that I paint my borders, so don't forget to do that as well. Paint the sides of your canvas. Okay, and as I come down, I'm just going to start just getting white as I come down closer to my yellow line, just to keep it lighter and without much blue on my brush because I don't, again, want green. I'm getting very close to my yellow. My yellow is already a bit more dry, so that's a positive thing. If your yellow is not really dry yet, I would give it a little bit more time before you start bringing your line a little closer. So again, we're trying to avoid green. So I got more yet white, and I'm just bringing it into my yellow. And I'm changing my stroke up a little bit because I want it to be a little wispy and have the sky kind of come up. So you'll see some of my lines have kind of, instead of it just being straight wham across, now we're getting into a little bit more yellow. So I'm just bringing it like upwards a bit just to have a little bit of like streaky flow happening going up. And I'm using my brush like really lightly on the canvas, so I'm not pressing very hard. I'm just like lightly touching and kissing it. It's a weird thing to say, but that's the best way for me to describe it. Hopefully that's helpful. Okay, so I have a kind of a wispy sky happening. Really pretty, really light, kind of digging it. And as always, my goal whenever I'm pulling inspiration from a photo, my goal isn't to try to recreate it exactly. My goal is to be inspired from it and to have fun with it. So I want it to feel a little bit different. I still want you to be able to look at it and be like, oh yeah, that's that photo, clearly, but I want it to be my own. So that's what's very important to me in this process. Like, I'm not trying to just make it the exact, trying to be so realistic. There is an artist that I think she's doing some virtual sessions. I think they're paid sessions, but she's fantastic and she's highly detailed. I think it's Painting with Megan, I think. And she's doing some sessions. I think she's over the course of like 2 virtual, so like a 4-hour session in total where she's going into a lot of detail. So if you want to do something very specific and trying to replicate it exactly, she's someone that I would check out. Her art is fantastic. Jody, I'm so glad you're here. Hi, Jody. Yay. I missed you too. I missed all of you. I took a hiatus for a bit, for those who don't know, for a few months, and yeah, it's so nice to be back and to get all your energy, and everyone's been sharing their photos, and that's really all I ask. Obviously, you see in the links there, if you want to leave me a tip, obviously I'll appreciate it. That's fantastic, but it's not necessary. However, what I do want from you is I want you to share your paintings with me. So I want to see your beautiful paintings that you take the time and effort to put together and have fun doing, and share what you liked about it, what was challenging, what you changed, like anything you like. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I love to see your paintings. So please share your paintings. If you're doing this along with me, please share, because I like to see it. Okay, so I just took a little bit of a moment while it kind of sits because it is all very wet. So that's why I stopped right now, and I'm just like chatting and checking out the comments for a moment. So the next thing that we're going to do with us is I'm going to be putting in some clouds, and I'm going to be placing in my center light source as well. So that's what I'm going to be doing next. Okay, and we can start it when it's wet. That's totally fine. I'm going to move from using my big old trusty brush there to my medium brush to start, and then I might go into like a finer brush. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how that goes. Hi Sarah, I'm glad you're watching again. I saw that you mentioned you were going to be. That's great. Awesome. I'm so glad you guys are. Perfect. Okay. So let's start playing a little bit with that. So it's still a little wet, and that works for me. So there's a few things about these clouds. Now, clouds can be really scary for a lot of people. I totally get it. And we can do them in a couple of different ways. So when we look at our inspiration pictures, there's a couple of different things going on here. So we have some really nice wispy clouds that just feel like a blur, very wispy ones up here. And we have some that have quite a bit of a shadow on them because the sun is coming in from that side, right? And so like it's quite shadowed. So those might look kind of funky. So again, you can play with it. we can try and do it that way, and if it doesn't work out the way we want to, we can always change it up, so don't be worried about that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with white, and then we'll build in some color if we decide we want to go that route. So with my medium or smaller brush, I'm going to just put some white on my brush just like that, and I'm just going to start to play. Also, like, these clouds are kind of on a bit of an angle, so I want to maybe try and think about that too when I put this in. So I'm going to just start always thinner than what I would like, and I'm just like lightly dabbing just to decide where I want to place this. I think I want to place it like about there, more or less. I think that works. And then as I go, I'm gonna, since my painting is still quite wet, I'm just gonna keep getting more white on my brush. Since it's wet, every time I touch the canvas, my brush is picking up more paint from underneath. And so it's no longer white, essentially. So I need to keep getting more white on my brush when you're painting on top of wet paint. Especially when, well, when you want that new color to stand out. That's how you want to do it. Okay, so I'm just going to keep building this out a little bit. Just kind of some hints of clouds. I'm kind of digging that. That's kind of neat. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit like here and just like touch it a little bit. Okay. Okay. Just like little lines. And then there's another little bit of here. Whenever I do this, I feel like I don't breathe. Like I stop, or like I like hold my breath as I'm doing it. So for doing that, make sure you stop and take a breath. I'm just trying to like have little bits of cloud playing here and there. There you go. So just, I find like when you put in some of these like sweepy streaks, it has that feeling of clouds already, and then when we add just little touches, it just emphasizes that, and it's a really easy way to get that motion and that that feeling of clouds in the sky, essentially, right? Like it, and then what I do is once it dries a bit, I might go back and put a little bit more white or a little bit more. Like you might just want to play with it a bit more as you go. Yeah. So now there's like this one here that's a little dark, but again, we're going to start with it being bright. So this one's a little puffy, so I'm just making it a little puffier. Just again, dab, dab, dab. Okay. Can't really see that. It's very light behind it. That's all right. Okay, then we have another one like here. You just want to position them wherever you desire. Okay, a few ones here, here, and some up here. Let's put some on this side too. Okay. Nice sky right there. Okay. There's quite a few of these, so I'm just doing the same process, just like deciding where I want them to live. I'm just using white and I'm just dabbing where I want them to be. And again, up here is a little wet again, so I need to grab more white if I want to have it stand out a little bit more. Okay. There's like little dabs every once in a while, weird little formations here and there. Maybe there's some more happening up on here. Okay, so pretty little clouds. Pretty little things happening all over the place. Okay. I'm hesitant to open my black, but I'm going to. I'm going to put like a little drop on my palette. Black is super powerful, and I don't need a heck of a lot for it to go a long way. And so I want to start having some darkness in some of these. Just putting black right on there is a bit of a scary move because the black is so intense. So my thin brush, which already has quite a bit of white paint on it, I'm not removing it. I'm putting a little bit of black on that. And I'm also getting a little bit of red on it as well, just to make it a little bit not so intense in the black. So I have like a really like kind of a gray color right now, and then I may darken it as I go. So I'm going to just put in a little bit darker. Ooh, I don't think I like that at all. Nope, but that's okay. I'm going to play with it. I'm going to see if I want to darken it up a little bit over here. So I'm just putting more black. We'll see, and if I don't want to do it, maybe I'll just stick with it being light. That's why you can kind of watch and see, and then you can decide if you want to try that out or not. A little mixed on it. I think I kind of like it just lighter. There's a little bit of yellow too. It's popping out. I'm just putting a little bit of yellow around it to see if that's what I would prefer it to have, or if I don't want to use it at all. We'll see. I don't know if I'm a fan of it, to be honest. I mean, it does look like the image, but I don't know if I want that. I think I kind of want it to be brighter and keep it lighter. You know what? I think I'm going to leave it for now, and I'm going to put in like the brush that's in the back first, and then I might go back and play with those, but I don't know if I want to go that route. So I'm not feeling it. The brightness of these colors make me want to keep the brightness happening, and I feel like I'm not capturing it the way I want to capture it. So you know what? I think I'm not going to do that right now, like I said, and I'm going to move down and just put in the brush, and I'll decide if I want to make the clouds with that feeling on them. Okay, so on that note, I want to put in that background of those dark tree line. So I'm going to get black on my big brush, And I'm going to put in a line of where I want that to live, more or less. I want it to live about here, more or less. There we go. Okay. Okay. And all we can start doing with this brush here is we can start just bringing it up, and you can just use the brush to start to have a little bit of, see, as I go with my brush, it already has almost like a print to it, which is kind of cool. I'm going to keep it thick and dense near the bottom, and then I might just have it like that. Just use the actual brush itself to bring up the varied line, and then you can go in with a more fine point, and we can put in some more details in there. Okay, so already have like a nice little line there happening. Yeah, I'm digging that. Okay. Okay, so I want to get my fine point. I need more blacks. I only put a little dot there. I was a little too conservative with my amount there, but now we're good. Okay, so I'm just going to wet my brush a bit just to get myself a nice fine point happening. So I'm just like using my fingers just to make this brush more of a fine point. So that brush comes into pretty fine there. Almost too fine. I almost need to cut the like one hair that's like super long. It kind of gets in the way at times. Okay, so I'm going to just dip that brush into my black paint. And I just want to add a little bit of detailing in the back with some trees that are maybe gonna come out, and there'll be some nice branches that you can see very specifically. Okay, so a little tree happening there, and that's just gonna add, make it feel more realistic. You can just put a few wherever you want them to live. There's kind of a few more that are just sticking out a little bit here and there. Alright, so it's adding a bit more here and there. That's just kind of weird crisscrosses over there, but that's alright. That works out. Okay. Looks like little details coming alive in the background. Very, very cute. I'm noticing too there's some, like there's one here that kind of looks like there's like almost like a little, like almost like dotted almost. I don't know if it's just like, yeah, that's cool. Change it up a little bit. Okay. Let's see, do I want any more? I'm not sure if I do. I think that might be okay in a way. I just put a few more. I don't want them like all the same height either, so. Okay, this is just like a little silhouette background. So there we go. So we have a little bit of shrubbery happening in the back there. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. I think I want to keep it bright. Okay. I do need to put my like bright light source in. I didn't do that yet. And so I'm going to use white to start with my medium brush. And I want that to live almost centered here. So I'm just going in and just making like an orb, like a lighter orb where I want that to live. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of yellow around it. But still more white because I need it to be very bright. The white is going to help me achieve that. Okay, so there's my light source right in the middle there. Okay. All right. I think I am going to do a few more clouds a little darker. Like this one over here, let's put that darkness in. So I'm just going to bring okay, I need it a little bit darker. And a little more black. Okay. We'll see if that goes. Then we have a little bit more happening over here. One here. I'm just gonna go for it and see. Maybe once it's all like put together, it'll look a little bit more the way I want it to. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. We will try it and see. A little bit of yellow. Just putting a little bit of yellow just around the sides of it because I feel like there's like a little bit of like a highlight of it. Just get more white. Okay. Okay. That's what's happening. And we'll see how it goes from there. Okay. Alright, I'm just gonna, you know what, I'm gonna keep them in the water right now because I'm not using those so much anymore. Okay, so now I want to go in and put in like the background of snow and, excuse me, start building towards the front here. So that snow, even though snow is white, it's not a very white on the picture. It's kind of like, has a little tinge of blue in it. It's like a bit of a grayish color as well. So I see a little bit going on there. I might start with white and then I'm going to add a little bit just to give it that kind of dirty, not dirty, but just like background shadow, cold vibe. I think I'm going to use my big brush for that one. Okay, I'm going to start with white, like I said, and then I'm going to play with it a little bit. So I'm just going to put in some white paint here. So that's another thing too. So with this paint that I got from Michael's, so the one that's not from the dollar store, this paint a little bit goes a long way. Where I find the Crafters acrylic, it really doesn't spread much. Like I need to use a lot more of it to get the same result. So that's been an interesting discovery in this process, playing with different qualities of paint. Okay, I'm just going to darken it up a little bit. I'm just going to put a little bit of blue in here. I'm going to clean off my brush again. Okay, and I'm just going to blend it a bit. Into the white. More white. Okay. So now it's kind of like it has a little bit of variety in it. It has a bit more color gradient. It's not just pure white, but it still has that cold, snowy vibe to it, which is exactly what I want. So perfection. Okay, cool. Next up is I want to start putting in that line of, I guess, additional foliage that is living right there. and where my tree's gonna start to jut out from there. So do I want to use my big old brush? I'm not exactly sure. I do like the way this brush feels. Like I think I have a lot of nice control with it, which I like. But it's a little big. I kind of do want to use it though. You know what? I'm gonna use it just to put in, I think, my line. No, I'm a little more worried about that. No, we're not doing that. Okay, we are going to use my medium brush, I think, instead. Yes, that's what I'm going to use. And this, when I look at it, it's black, but it does have, it's not like full pure black. So it is kind of almost like, I want to use like a really dark red. So I'm going to use my red predominantly, and then I'm going to put a little bit of black to get like a really dark red. Almost black, but yeah, I'm going to start with that and then we'll play with it. Okay, so here we are with another like line of random shrubbery. So I'm going to start by just putting I'm going to do like a dirty line. I say dirty because it's not like a smooth, clean line. It's kind of raggedy. That's okay, we'll tidy it up later. Okay, so there's my line there. And now I'm just going to almost like stamp it and use the texture of this brush to give me some of these foliage stuff that's happening. I might leave some spaces a little emptier than others. Just to get that so now we just have like a little bit of that feeling of it, and then I want to go in and then make some more defined lines from there. So where is my, there we go. My fine brush. My fine brush, fine point brush. Okay. And so there's some areas that are a little bit more. I'm going to go and put some lines in. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going in and putting in some thin little lines, and I'm just trying to go like, I'm gonna make some a little bit bigger than others, make some a little thicker than others if I can. Just try to vary the lines that I'm putting in place. And I'm just gonna smush my brush a little bit for some of the areas that are like nothing much is growing there. It's just like little touches. Okay. Cool. I'm just gonna put a little bit of dots kind of in some spots, just for fun. There's some little, I'm noticing some little like, maybe like there's like some growth that was still left behind, didn't actually fall off. I think that adds some nice interest to it. It makes it, give it some more texture. Looks kind of cool. That's all. There we go. So I think that's neat. Happy with that. Okay. So from here, I'm going to continue on and play with that last layer of snow there, and then we'll pop in that tree at the end, I think. Because I also still want to know if I want to play with that sky. I'm not 100% sure if I want to keep with that sky or not. Hey, Lori! Awesome. Yeah, this one is very pretty. It's very, like, simple and pretty and, like, nice and soft. And what I like about this a lot, especially for beginners, it's great, and honestly for anyone, really, but it's a nice painting because, again, you can kind of mix and match and play with it as you want. So, like, when we did last week's painting, where we had, like, a big mug, that's a little harder because you're trying to capture the definition of it and make it look, you know, three-dimensional. In this way, you do have like this brush that's happening back here, and you have like this brush there and like this, you know, sky. But again, by doing like little tips and things, you can, not even just tips, just like making your own, you can change it up and have a good feeling with it. And I feel like you have a lot more like leeway to play. So you can make like a bigger tree in the background, or you can make them in mountains, like make a whole like mountain skyline, or make a skyline or make buildings. It doesn't really matter. You can change it up however you want. And I feel like there's a lot more freedom to it. So I really enjoy landscape paintings like this for that reason. I like the ability to just play. It's fun. So from here, I want to, again, put in this front piece. And again, I'm going to do a similar way that I did this background here, where I'm going to use white, and then I'm going to touch it with a little bit of blue and a little bit of black to emphasize some of the shapes. And what I think is really cool about this is this is just like, again, like there's more of this kind of like brush in this area, right? So there's lots of like little sticks and grasses and whatever, but it looks like waves almost. Like it looks almost like water because of the way the snow has fallen, and when the snow gets blowing, it tends to get these ripples. And that's why I really love that about snow. It looks so pretty when you just have like a field that hasn't been touched and you just have the wind that actually creates these ridges. So I want to play with that a bit, and that's going to be the challenge in still having this momentum almost like water, but it not being water. So we're going to play with that. And me saying that, it may sound a bit more maybe complex or harder to do, but it's not, and we're just going to have fun with it and play with it and go with it. So let's start off by, again, we're going to use our big brush, and we're going to get white as our base. And you can start just putting white. So I do want to come up to here, and then I'm going to clean up. Remember how I said like my line was a little like dirty and messy? I'm going to clean it up a little bit by putting some snow on top of it. Okay, so I've covered pretty, again, like with this paint is pretty awesome. It spreads a lot, like a little bit spreads and gives really good coverage. So I'm pretty impressed with it. It wasn't even that expensive either, which is kick-ass. Okay, so we have that. So I'm going to just touch with blue. Then I'm going to go to my black just to give me like a little bit of like a blue-gray kind of vibe. So I have black and blue there. Now, let me think how I want to play. You know what? We're just going to go with it. Let's just put little lines. I want to start just getting like little hills and valleys happening. Now they're smaller in the background because they're further away. So I'm approaching this similar to how I would do water, where I'm just gonna add little lines over my wet paint. Okay. A bunch of lines just to start getting. I'm working fairly quickly because I don't want these lines to fully dry. So I'm just putting a few in different directions. I want it more in the background. Okay. Okay. I'm just being cautious to put these lines in. When I like a line, I'm not touching it. So I just have all these like ripples already. Very quickly with that brush. Here, we'll leave that in there actually. I'm gonna get my medium brush. I'm gonna go back in with my white. I think, I don't know. No, I wanna make it a little bit darker. I wanna make it like a light gray. That's what I want. Is that the color I want? Sure. So now I'm gonna go into some of my white zones and just start to put in just like little strokes in those white areas. I'm gonna get some more white actually. There. Okay, go back to my gray. So I want the lines to stay. So when I go back with other colors, I'm trying to go in between it. So I'm trying to clean up some of it because some of the lines are a little like messy. But I want to keep this like wispiness that we have from putting those little lines all over the wet white paint. And I'm just going over the spots, some of it, just to make it a little bit more shadow in some areas. And I'm just doing it randomly. Like I'm not really thinking about it. I'm not thinking about where the light source is. I'm not thinking about any of those components. I'm just playing and putting some more little streaks in. Okay. Oop, I don't know if I like that one. That's okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So like I said, I'm just kind of playing with the colors and just putting in some more streaks here and there. Okay. So we're good with that. This is something that I think you kind of just keep going if you want to You're really digging it? Again, similar to when you do water. Again, the more layers and the more buildup you do, I think the better it always looks. Okay. Hi, Rula. Oh, absolutely. I totally understand. Rula just says that she just finished work, so she'll try to paint later. Totally get it. Work keeps getting in the way of us doing what we want to do, eh? I'm just getting a little bit of black just to put some shadows in some spot. I think we need a little bit more black in some spots. Okay. A few little ones up here. It's kind of like smaller little like ripples almost further away. And then you have more prominent ones closer to the front. Yeah, I'm digging that. I'm definitely letting my like more abstract hands flow. Okay, so and then we have a bunch of little like sticks and twigs and things sticking out. So let's pop those in, shall we? I don't know. This really, really fine point one is like very fine of a point. I don't know if I want to do that or if I want to use a different one. I have another fine point brush that isn't as thin like that. So let's use that one instead. Okay. So there's a bunch of little twiggy things. They're just sticking out randomly, like little lines that are sticking out. Some of them are going in different directions. Some are long. There's a few that are a bit long sticking out from this spot right here. I'm just going to put a few in like that. That one's a little thicker. There's like little like dots here, maybe like two little dots there, maybe a little bit there, and there, and there. Like that. I don't know. And there's like another line like that, and another one here, and maybe one more there. There's like a little row of like weird dotty line things there. I'm not sure what's growing there, but you know, something had at one point. And a little baby dots and little baby lines. Maybe like here, a little V almost. Another one there. Another one come this way. Okay, let's put some on this side too. Okay, so I think the more little ticks of things that you want to put in, the more lifelike and detailed this is going to pop and come alive. A little bit like just like that. Maybe put some little dots here. I don't know. Just play, have fun. If you're not sure to put it, just look back and say, oh, okay, like maybe there's not. Maybe I'll put something else here. You can't really go wrong. I do want to put a few kind of in front of that. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I'm digging that. What else? What else? Where else? I don't know. That's a big one. Something like that sticking out. Cool. Yeah, I don't think it really matters. I think you can kind of just play. Put little dots wherever you want. Little dots, little lines. Again, further away should be the smaller ones. Closer up. It can be a variety of sizes too, but you definitely want some bigger ones near the front because we can see them more. Okay, there we go. So cute! How cute is that? I was like, oh, I don't need to make it look realistic, and then it started to look a little realistic, I guess. It's funny because, like, yeah, I don't think about making it realistic. I really like the impressionistic feels of things. That's what I'm drawn to when I pick a painting that I like. I don't really go for realism, but sometimes I think when you just let your hand flow, like it makes it look really cool. I'll bring that a little closer so you can see some of those little bits and bits. Yeah, so have fun in the front. That's so cool. Look how pretty that looks. I'm so happy with this. I didn't think it was going to turn out this nice, to be honest. That's funny. It's true. Okay. Let's pop that tree in, shall we? Everyone who loves putting in trees. I know so many of you are like, oh no, not a tree again. Almost every time I will have a tree in the painting. I love trees so much. So yeah, so we're gonna pop that tree in. So I'll use my medium-sized brush. Aw, thanks, Jody. I'm glad you love it. It makes me so happy. Okay, so I'm gonna need my medium-sized brush so you can figure out what I want this tree to be. So this tree has a nice sturdy trunk, essentially like here, and then it gets smaller, so we don't want to cover my beautiful light source, but it is going to go in front of it. So I'm going to use my medium-sized brush for just a little bit, because this brush is very, like, it's too big in a way that I don't like it as much. But let's see, the middle of my tree is going to look something like that. And then I'm going to make him a little wider at the bottom. Give him about a little bit like that. And we'll play a little bit. We're going to have to put some things in front, I think, to make it look a little more natural. I think I might have to switch already from my, yeah. Can't use that brush for too long. All right. Let us go with another brush. Okay. I'm going to go with my fine point one because yeah. because a medium brush is not gonna work. So okay, so really we can play. So look away, like look at the tree first. Look at the weird way the weird branches are going. So the branches make weird curves. They're not all straight. Some are like wickedly straight. Some are weirdly crooked and bent. Like look at this weirdness. It's like chick, 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 chick. Like it's weird, right? So I think the funkier the better, personally. The rule that I always try to adhere to make it look as natural of a tree as possible is the branches are thicker closer to the trunk, and as it goes further away, as they are newer growths, they're thin and small, right? So try and do that as much as possible. So I'm gonna pop one here. This branch is gonna come like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this guy a little thicker as it comes closer to the branch. The branch? No, the trunk is what I want to say. Okay, and this trunk, I want to make them a little wonky because again, trees are not just perfectly straight, right? They're going to be like, they have little knots in them and they curve and they do all weird sorts of things. So let's make this here. Let's bring it down like that for fun. Okay. And maybe this one's going to come this way. And come, ooh, I lost my paint on that stroke. Yes. Look how funky that looks. This weird crisscrossy, that works. Like that looks neat, man. Cool. All right, let's go up here as well. Okay. Thin brushes are great, but they're also like really annoying because you can hardly put any paint on them. You keep going back and getting more paint on them every 2 seconds. Okay, let's make that really wonky, crinkly, weird one. Let's do one right here. Ooh, fun. Okay. Careful when you put your hand on your canvas. I've done it so many times and then I've smeared everything. Okay, I'm just going to start adding some more to it. Punky one that's living like that. This is actually very similar to another painting we did, or another painting from photo that we did. Like a really nice yellowy blue sky. This is also a spot where you could use acrylic paint markers as well. That would be fun. Cool. So we just play. There's tons of little branches on this one, so don't feel like you have to put every single one. You're just trying to get the feeling, the vibe of that tree. I make sure my branch is actually attached to things. Sometimes I get into it and I'm like, oh, that branch didn't actually attach to the trunk. It's happened a few times. You gotta kind of go back and double check it. All right. It's looking really fun. Okay. All right, all right, all right. I'm trying to put a few little wispies on the end. Make it look more realistic. That's the thing too. There's also like more branches at the tips. There's like little twigs. Ah, try not to go too thick. Okay. Okay. All right, so I think I'm almost done what I want to do with this tree. I'm just adding some more little branches and things. Okay, I think I want to put like little okay. I think I'm going to leave it as such. All right, so let me check in with you all. Oh, thank you so much, Paula. Paula says the snow looks excellent. Thank you. Bye, Jody. Yeah, absolutely. If you try it, definitely let me know. I'd love to see it. All right, I think I'm all done for today. Get back to see me a little bit, just for a moment. All right, cool. So thank you all. Ooh, that's not a good angle. There you go. Okay, that's a bit better. All right, so there we go. So there's my completed picture of this wintry sunset. Maybe sunrise. Honestly, it probably is more of a sunrise. It looks like more of a sunrise. Yeah. We'll go with that. So thank you all for joining me today. I hope you had a great time, and if you painted along, please take a picture of your painting and share it with me because I'd love to see what you've done. Again, if you're interested in hosting your own private virtual party, definitely reach out to me and we can talk about what that would look like. We can create like our own specific image for your event if you'd like, or you can pick something that you already enjoy and we can do that. Also, you can leave a tip if you like, or like I said, the only thing I ask is for you to take a picture and go ahead and share it with me because I'd love to take a look and see your beautiful paintings. So this is all done for today, I guess. And on Saturday, there'll be, I'll show you the next one that we're going to be doing for next week. And then our March calendar will be up hopefully by the end of next week. All right, so have a fantastic rest of your week. Thanks so much. Take care, everyone. Bye, Paint Partiers.